time.
Good afternoon and welcome to Unfiltered Dealer Talk. And it's Becky Chernek and Daughtry. And we're here today to really bring it on to talk about, what's really dealers are talking about, especially after attending NADA, and what's happening to get more inventory. Interest rates, well, they're still high. Even though that they're dropping some of those interest rates, it's still hurting customers with affordability with regard to these payments. So we'll talk through that. And we're also going to talk about, with Gene. He has a massive experience when it comes to independent dealerships as well as buy here, pay here. And then he's going to be talking about why more dealers are going for this lease buy here, pay here. So
they call it lease here, pay here, but lease here, pay here.
Thanks, Gene. He's always here to help me out. Correct. So anyway, before we get started, I just wanted to make sure, if you're new to this channel, I'm Becky Chernek, and I have a vast experience in automotive retail. Predominantly more with the franchise stores than the independent stores. And as I said, Daughtry, he is the guru when it comes to independent and what goes on there. So I think the two of us make a great match. And okay, we are going live on Facebook. We're going live on YouTube. We are going live on X and LinkedIn. So if you like what we're talking about, hit that like button, share.
Please,
subscribe. Yeah. Right?
That's right. No, that is right. And it's so funny. We got started just a little bit late because what are we doing? You and me are sitting here talking about the car business in the background, like, oh, we got to do this. We're supposed to be doing this for other people, not just ourselves. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I know. I just get so wrapped up in our conversations, Gene, because they're just involved. You, especially today, you have been a busy person in one dealership after another. And now you're at a dealership in Houston, Texas. Is that right? In Texas?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Now, of course, I virtually did South Carolina, and then I did another dealer here in Houston virtually. And then I had to get over here to do some live collection training in another part of Houston. You don't drive around Houston quickly at all, especially it's very foggy today. But yeah. So I'm in a hybrid store, a dealership that does half of their business is retail, independent used cars, and half of their business is buy here, pay here. And they operate that very well. It's a 30-year-old operation. So there's definitely ways to blend those things together and do it correctly. The South Carolina operation, eight franchise locations with 4 buy here, pay here, and they're all combined in the same, the buy here, pay here's in a regular franchise store, like a Chevy store, Ford store. And they're able to pull that together and make that work very well. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there for the dealers that are looking for ways to help those customers that are coming in. And we talked about this the other day. We know they're coming in, and there's ways to capture that business, do it correctly, and make all that good money, because there's good money helping those folks out subprime.
I do think so too. I think it's picking up that incremental income, those opportunities that, perhaps during COVID, we forgot all about. We just passed over and sent them down the street because at the end of the day, did it really matter? Probably not. But today it's more important than ever that we have to put in some of those best practices back to be able to capture every deal matters. It's the volume game today, right? And it's also making sure that, we're selling more cars, we're taking more trade-ins. We're having access to more opportunity, more inventory. And I think that was the name of the game at NADA. A lot of conversation was on, volume. How are we selling these cars? Where are we getting our used car inventory? Interest rates are going up. So it's not same game on. It's like we have to do a better job in capturing that book of business. And it starts from the time that that customer lands on that dealership website to what goes on sales, as well as what's happening at that desk, to be able to make sure that we're putting the customer on the right card to begin with the first time out.
Got to have the right card. That's for sure. Inventory is so important. One thing that I've always preached at the stores that I operate and the people that I consult with is 80 and 80. Now we're in buy here, pay here everywhere I'm going, lease here, pay here. At least that's the part of the business. And so 80 and 80, 80% of the inventory that's setting out on the lot will work with 80% of the people that are coming into the dealership. And you have to understand who's coming in, who are you drawing in? And the inventory plays a role in who's coming in, because there's dreams and desires that, what we're selling. And so, but there still has to be some thought about income levels. Can we get approved through the lenders we have? And do we have inventory that attracts the customers that we can get bought on the loans at payments they can afford enough to get approvals and be able to keep those cars in the street? So we got to think about that when we're buying. Inventory is a very important aspect or part of the business, not just to draw, the Joe Blow in because we got a hot red looking Ford truck out there or whatever, but because we have all these other people that don't really know what the cars are, but they know they need something, and we got to have something that they're going to be interested in. So it is such an important aspect in understanding what needs to be out front besides just the cars that we like. I can't buy what I like and put them out there. I need to buy stuff that Becky's going to like and other people are going to be attracted to, that also fit the incomes and the people that are coming to the dealership, so that we can put them in them, they can afford them, and we have success. In our business, buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here, we have success in the collecting of the payments and the portfolio. But if you're on subprime, they're watching your success as well, and what people you're putting into their book of business. And so it's important to have things that realistically people can afford.
So a lot of times, with the dealers that I have worked with and I think we've talked about this before, but I'll meet up with the GM at the store and I'll ask the GM, do you write any subprime business? And I can tell you more often than not, they tell me, we don't have subprime business here, Becky. And come to find out, of course, I'm on the desk and I'm an F&I, and I quickly find out, guess what? Somebody's off somewhere because they have subprime credit. Now, that's not a good thing if we don't know that you have subprime credit or that you're dealing with it and you're not able to manage it, right? Because a lot of times those deals you can't be made, and that customer gets sent down the street to their competitor. Or understanding that book of business. So for example, I'll pull an operations report, and that will tell me, what credit has actually been submitted, what the average FICO score. And from there, what has been actually delivered. And you can tell, what are we doing with that book of business, that FICO score from, I don't know, let's say 620 to 575. Where did that go?
Right.
And why don't we have the right inventory for that?
Well, and that comes down to, first, we talked about this, the 12-step program. First, you got to admit you got a problem, and then you got to attack that problem. And the problem is that you don't believe that you have bad credit customers or subprime customers that are coming in. And so you don't have any way to address it. The person in the finance office doesn't want to mess with it because he can't make back in. He can't do anything, can't pick up any rate. It's just a push through. And it's a struggle on top of that, because now you got to close the customer on a high payment and interest rate. And the sales department, if they don't really have a clear path of what to do with that customer, they're probably just going, I can't help you, or online, I can't help you, or telling them out on the parking lot, and they're not getting past the gatekeeper. And so, and again, from all the years that I've been doing that, all the years that you've been doing this, Becky, I know that they're seeing them. So we just really should and try to embrace that some way, and then have the inventory that works for that. And there's so many people that are appreciative and they'll come in and do business with you. And the referral business is so huge in subprime. If you have an accommodating program and everybody's in tune with, they come in, we're going to help them. That's going to have a lot of referral business come to you. You just said, and I wanted to say, you said that when you're in there and you're in the so you actually go in and train and sit down at the desk and do some financing when you go into the dealers you go to?
Well, yeah, I mean, so recently, so as a consultant for 20 years, and then at COVID, I thought, well, you know what the heck, I'll go get a real job as a F&I platform director, corporate F&I director. So that put me back in the seat. And where I'm going with that, even as a consultant, as I met with GMs and even in that F&I director role, meeting with GMs, I could tell you how many would tell me, no, Becky, we don't do subprime credit here. We just don't have it. It just doesn't show up. And it's like, how is it that it shows up next door to another dealership, but somehow or another, they're not showing up at your dealership? Radar should be going off. The flag should be going off, right? Going up and saying that we've got a problem here. I remember years back, and I think we talked about this as well, when I was working in Memphis, and the guys there were, parked right next to a super used car center, and would say, we don't have subprime credit. I said, where's your tier 3 and 4 business? We don't have it. Well, where is it? Somebody's doing something. And, you and I did talk about that last week. And we talked about the fees, or what do you want to call it? Bird dogs, that they're paying salespeople to send that book of business to the competitor up the street because they don't want to mess with it.
Oh yeah, we're paying good money to get that business out of your store. That's right. We want that business to come to buy here, pay here, or subprime, or at least here, pay here. So yeah, we're paying good money to have those customers routed towards us when there's nothing that they can do with them at your store or at the franchise store. Then we want them sent to us so we can help them while they're in the market. They're talking about buying. They're interested. They need. They got the down payment on them already. Let's get them while they're hot and see if we can help them. And
I wonder if dealers are listening and hear what's really happening, because what's happening is that the salesperson is going up to the desk, and the sales manager is saying to that customer or salesperson, can't you get yourself a real customer? And so they learn quick that, why would I want to mess with this whole thing? Why would I want to mess with this? And then find out that, can I get myself a real customer 3 hours later? So immediately I'm going to find out if this customer has slow pay history or not. And the minute I find out that they do, down the road motors they go, because why would I put myself through that misery? And like you said, F&I folks, some of these guys are going, do we really have to do this deal?
Yeah.
Or nobody's making any money here. You're not making a commission because you've got to cut your gross, and none of us are making any money on the back end. So why don't we just not even mess with this kind of stuff?
Right.
And there you have it.
And you pull my card out because I'm paying $300 for that customer if they get to me, and I can sell them a car. So most definitely, it's something that goes on, and it's something that the dealer should be aware of. And I'll tell you something on the reverse side of that is there's customers that are out there that don't believe they have good enough credit to do business at a new car store, and they come to us. And it's not a whole pile of them, but I have pulled plenty of upper 7 and 800 Beacon score customers that have come into the buy here, pay here store to get a nice car, but they really didn't know that they could go buy at the new car store. They're just not really sure. Maybe they're uncomfortable with, what they think the sales process might be. So conversely, we're seeing that as well in a small number, but it's still there. And if you have a good subprime program that at the new car store, and you're marketing that to a certain extent, yeah, those 575s, they're on the edge, but you might be able to get those folks done, and they're very appreciative. They're going to tell a lot of people, especially if they drive off in a new or a CPO, a certified pre-owned car. They're very appreciative of that.
Well, here's the thing. I'm understanding because dealers, didn't do too much on leasing over the last couple of years, Gene. And
Yeah.
a lot of those lease vehicles with the low mileage, they really don't have as much access to that inventory as what they did, before COVID.
Right.
And we talked about that too. How many times did, was I told, hey, Becky, we're going to write this, we're converting this lease to an extended term. And I'm like, well, if I ever did that, I mean, he would shoot me. When I was in the business, I'm like, if I converted a lease deal to an extended term to 72 months, I've been like, down the road motors, I would have gone. They just didn't see it like that. They see it as, the big plan, right? It's the big picture thinking, with leasing and understanding the portfolio that you're building over time. Well,
I got to plug in before I die. Hang on a second.
Oh no, we had that happen before. Before, with I think Everald was having issues when we had our show on the live talk, and he thought he was plugged in, but then he found out real quick that it wasn't working. That it wasn't a live extension, if you will. So,
that's the bad thing about running around town and going in and out of different places and trying to get quiet spots so we can have a conversation. I got to find a plug. So,
it's called live.
So you were talking about
real life.
Talking about leasing and buy here, pay here. Over the last few years, there's been more of a development of lease here, pay here. So there's a lot of advantages to leasing, and a lot of dealers are more comfortable getting into leasing for bad, subprime, bad credit. And so it allows you to sell a nicer car and still be able to make the money. And, you have much more control I'm in the collection business. And so bankruptcies can be an issue. So leasing keeps you away out of the bankruptcies. It makes it easier to repossess the cars when you need to. You can sell a nicer vehicle, newer, lower miles, and stay at about the same payment as a competitor because you don't have to, you're using money factors and you're using a residual, and the customer has the ease of buying the car, driving it for 3 years, whatever the term you set up, bringing it back in, paying the disposal fee and giving you the car back, just like in any other lease. And that's helped dealers be able to move a nicer vehicle and for buy here, pay here, and do it in a way and keep the customer in a better payment, because again, it's about the payment and what can they afford, and our success is going to come from, the payment ratio to the customer's debt. And so any advantage we can get, and a lot of guys that are out there, y'all probably understand in the new business kind of what leasing does and how it can help you tax wise. There's a lot of tax advantages to it. So there's some great things that go on being in our business on my side of the screen over here that are very similar to what y'all are dealing with on the other side. And
the other side.
let's get that inventory and have it right, and decide what your name's going to be on. What do you want in the street? What do you want your reputation built off of? And if you really want to move up and have some nicer vehicles, leasing's a good way to go in either side of the business. And the people at the newer car dealerships that's an easier blend a lot of times because they already understand the language of leasing versus.
Well, I think there's a learning curve again because they got away from it, but they're learning, they're coming back to it, and we're finding more and more the OEMs are coming up with better residuals in terms of incentives, especially in your EV models and that sort of stuff for leasing. But, I mentioned, whether it be on this show or another, I lease all my vehicles. It's just easier for me.
Sure.
And the vehicle that I leased this time around was a Toyota 4Runner, and now this one is a Lincoln Nautilus, and I love the technology. But to me, leasing is the right way to go, especially if you can take advantage of these residuals. And a matter of fact, to be able, imagine, and this is what we got caught up in that conversation before we come on with regard to this, because here's what you can do. You can actually manage a payment better for a customer who might be approved at another subprime lender at a much higher interest rate.
Right.
You're able to control that, which means you're controlling that book of business and being able to modify to be able for that customer to afford the payment. That, and then reduce the risk to the dealer when it comes to putting that together. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. The better ratio payment to income on the customer in our industry, the metrics all show you that's the more successful customer. So we want to try to get the payment as low as we can, and we still need to have the interest, but in a regular purchase, you're looking at Regulation Z, you got usury, you got to control the interest rate based on whatever state you're in or city, whatever you're in that's controlling that. With leasing, it's a money factor. It's, and so it's not controlled. So you can have a price on your leased vehicle that is closer to what you would have on your retail vehicles, and still make the profit margin that you need to make to have a portfolio, because you're hiding some of that in the money factor. The money factor is not regulated the same way as the interest rate. And then there's a few, leasing available fees that you can put in there to help you have profit, but it's not reflected in the price. So the customer sees a better price. You're able to sell the vehicle and have a nicer vehicle because you have a residual on you set the residual yourself, and buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here. You're setting your own residual. It's not the same as using a guide. What does the bank say, or the leasing company? So you set it yourself, but it still works essentially the same way. The customer's making a regular monthly payment. The tax is included, and you're taxing the payment versus taxing the sale of the car. And there's just a lot of good advantages to it. And if you're the guy in buy here, pay here in our industry, and you want to have nicer vehicles that you're selling than your competitors, that's a great way to do it. You got nicer things sitting out on the lot, and they can even blend better. If you really would rather do more retail than do buy here, pay here, your lease here, pay here cars generally are a little higher level, a little lower miles, because you have the opportunity. And those work better with CAC and Westlake and some of those other subprime lenders. So you have a better blend sitting on the lot, and they should be attracting customers that have a little higher, they want a little more car, they want something better, they want lower miles. And so it's just a good way to have that and have that blended opportunity.
So how many dealers do you know that are utilizing this model in franchise stores that you consult with?
Well, I consult with a
lot,
10 or 12 of them, because I'm not consulting with everybody all across the country, but I do consult with several car dealership groups that have gotten into the buy here, pay here, or the lease here, pay here business, and help them understand how to set that up and either have it part of your regular store using your regular employees, or create a satellite and how to funnel the business between the two so that they understand what they're getting into and better. The fundamentals, probably everybody can sit down and kind of explain it, but in the end, it's the traps and what's in the weeds that you got to pay attention to. And that's where I go in and help them set up the processes and all that. Mm-hmm. But there are, New York and Florida and South Carolina, and I'm right here in the store now in Houston, and I've done these things in Chicago area and Iowa and Idaho, and a lot of them are they have the franchise store or stores, or they have a big independent, and they're just adding this to that. And so they want to know how to do it correctly, because you do it wrong. So so there's a lot of different ways, different programs. And and I had retail background way back, turn of the century, and so that's been helpful for me to come in and understand what I don't have it at your level, Becky, but I understand what you talking about, and I can help the dealer understand this is how we blend it together, because I see the problems, and I've been in so many franchise stores creating a buy here, pay here, or a lease here, pay here business with that.
So here's what I think. I think this is the reason why we came together, because we're lethal. Because I mean, you own it. When it comes to this book of business, this model, and I feel like it's okay to utilize this in a franchise store, as long as you know what you're doing, as long as you have managers that understand how to structure deals, know their lenders inside and out, understand the cost of sale, get in front of this sooner rather than later, understand the mechanics, the behind the scenes.
Sure, absolutely. And you got to know what you're doing as the manager or the owner at the desk, but you also have to be able to have your salespeople know what they're doing, to separate who's this guy, where are we going with them, and talk to them differently, so they're set up for what needs to happen, so the dealer can manage and make good profit on either car sale. Amen. And you're not burning up the finance guy because he keeps getting all these deals that are not structured correctly. So definitely important. Yep.
So, I also mentioned, I saw a post, I think it was maybe LinkedIn or whatever, and and it was all about, we're going to sell the sizzle. We're going back to selling sizzle. And I'm all for, selling sizzle. But don't you think that we need to know what the sizzle is before we sell the sizzle? Or is it every deal? I mean, just put the customer on any car will do, and then we'll figure out the sizzle today. I mean, I really want to talk through this.
Okay. So the sizzle, again, from my perspective and what I'm doing, you can't have a bunch of Challengers and F4, four-door crew cab F-250s out there on the lot, because that is sizzle, and that sizzle will draw them right on in, but they can't afford it. And so you have to have maybe one or two of those, and then something that you can shift them to, that they're not going to be, you can't put them in a Metro convertible or a Ranger pickup off of that Ford. So you have to have some other down the line, that are similar, so you can shift them to them because they can afford it. Selling the sizzle should be selling the sizzle of the program, sizzle of the dealership, sizzle that our reputation. We're going to give you a great ownership experience after you buy this vehicle. And, we're going to be here to help you, and not so much you get that bright red Challenger out there with them chrome wheels, because, but it's $1,000 a month and everybody can't afford that. We don't want that sitting out there. It's out there, but everybody needs to know who can buy that, and not be just trying to, because you can just put anybody on that car, and we need to know who we're dealing with and make sure they're getting on the car that they can keep and drive and take care of their lives in, because that's what makes it more successful for the lender and for us and buyer.
Well, first of all, I want to comment. Sam, thank you so much for your comment. Thank you for being here. He is watching from LinkedIn. Know your subprime. Don't just leave it to finance. Amen. Let's get on those bank calls. And Sam and I have had some conversations on this as well. And we're, again, the guys at the desk, they've got to know their lenders, understand these deals inside and out, get out, take TOs, and really know what you're working with. A strong subprime strategy. I agree. More sales and will create more sales and stronger performance in the long run. So there's companies, retailers. There's CarMax, and then there's Carvana, and some of these others. And what's interesting, AutoNation, is that they get to the customer affordability sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. They understand before the customer is put on a car, or they may simultaneously be looking at inventory, but looking at, can I afford it? Can I budget for this? before they go through the nonsense to find out 3 hours later that they can't.
Right.
They either can't qualify or the payment is just doesn't meet their budget. Or then they're trying to put, put a square peg in a round hole and it doesn't work and no one's happy. That's
Right.
what I'm talking about. What do you tell dealers in how they can train a sales process to accommodate to accommodate every customer, every deal matters? And then I think we have another comment from Mike Moran here. Gene, do you recommend marketing to special financing or subprime prospects?
I do. If you're going to set up a program, I agree that you should let people know that you are available to help them with subprime, and that way that they can feel more comfortable coming in. And it helps when you're marketing that way. When your salespeople go out, they're the first line, or they're getting on the phone, they can ask, are you here? Are you talking to us because we are telling you we can help you with financing? And that generally is sort of a buzz about, I have bad credit and yes, I need some help to find a way to borrow or finance this car. And so it opens the door for that, because that's the key to making sure the customer is on the right track. You can't go out there and do a walk around and a close, qualifying, closing, all of those things, and bring them in and try to dump them in finance. We need to find out right up front, like CarMax, like Carvana, who do we have? What are they here for? And what's the best way for us to help them get what they need to get and not waste time, and us make a good profit from the process. And so by advertising and making it known that you are able to help people that have credit issues, it opens the door to that conversation real quick. It makes it easier for the salesperson to say, hey, we help with financing. Are you here for that? Or are you here because you're after a particular vehicle? What brings you to us? And usually the customers are going to go, well, no, I can write a check, or I just came to look at that Ford or whatever. I got the money, or I can go to my bank. You know what to do with that guy,
Well, I think too, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I was thinking, Gene, that for an independent dealer, to have marketing that goes to special financing or subprime, it's not that big of a deal. It happens all the time. The new cars franchise stores, they always question whether or not they should be advertising to special finance, subprime, or that type of customer, because does that take away from who we are? And I think, there's large groups, there's West Herd, there's other Larry Miller, H. Miller, large dealership groups that advertise for subprime business and special credit. So I agree. It's got to be a part of that conversation. What brought you into the dealership today? Are you here to see anyone in particular? Well, I'm here to see, Batwoman, Wonder Woman. I think that's what she calls herself. That sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I get it. And
I can tell you how many times we went ahead and we had, Mr. Black, you have a call on line 1. Well, we all knew who Mr. Black was. He was the subprime guy. So we had this early identification. It was just our way to be able to ID, that lead sooner rather than later, and how to address that customer.
Sure. I was a credit wizard in South Dallas in 1991 when nobody was really doing special financing or bad credit. It was at a Chevrolet store in South Dallas.
There you go. There it is, a credit wizard that, whatever it is, I'm here to see the credit wizard. Oh, good. Okay, great. Let's go ahead. Let's bring you in the dealership and sit you on down. Let's get you a cup of coffee, some water, something along those lines.
Sure.
But to that effect, you're in the franchise stores, and obviously you're seeing franchise dealers don't seem to have an issue with marketing to special finance or subprime customers.
I don't think so. I see it. I see it on Facebook every day on Facebook. New car dealers that are saying we can help anyone. We have, and when they're talking about, we can help anyone. We have approval for everyone, those types of things. They're not saying, oh, you bad credit people, but they are sort of inviting them in. So they're a little more comfortable to come in. And, because you don't know how many times I've heard they treated us horribly. They talked to us horribly. They ran us off from new car stores. And that's people are out there in all of these markets that have that story. And, and so why not invite them in, have a plan, see who you can fit into the plan, and, just offer them a solution. If you can't help today, I got a solution. If you do X or 6 months from now or something, or set you up a buy here, pay here operation that's down the street that you're doing separately, where you refer those folks down there that you just can't do with your subprime at the dealership. And it's a great way to handle people, and saying yes way more times than you're saying no.
Well, in my opinion, and based on experience, I see that dealers, independent dealers, they're a little bit more, they're more willing to pivot and see opportunity. What do you say to the franchise dealers who are reluctant, who maybe don't want to take, or they maybe don't want to take the risk so much, who are doing some of this type?
Well, I mean, they're taking risk with everything that they're doing. And I say to them that they already know there's a lot of buy here, pay here dealers. There's probably 35,000 of them across the country that, they're trying to, those buy here, pay here guys are trying to decide which airplane they're flying to NADA this time. Because, they make lots and lots of money in the business. And so what I say to them is understand that potential is there, and the risk comes from unknown and not from, the customers. Or there's going to be bad customers. We just have to know how to put together a program to mitigate the risk and handle the risk, and then have the right people that are handling the risky part of it, that understand what that entails. And from there, then you're talking about more customers that are using your shop, your body shop, your parts department, and you're creating customers, especially if you're reporting credit, you're creating customers your new car store can convert at some point down the road. And you have a place to send those customers that are coming in that have bad credit, and your regular operation is not really set up for that. You have a place to take them. Yes, instead of no. Let me take you over here and introduce you to the Batwoman, or whatever you want to call them, the credit wizard. Let's come talk to the credit wizard, and and get them in there, because it's another customer in your market that you've made happy. You put them in a vehicle, and it's business that's coming around from different directions, and income coming in from all the different ways. And you're not to mention the fact that you have more real estate that's being paid for by another business. You have a place that you can develop some farm team employees, maybe some farm team technicians to do work that can come into your bigger operations. And once they've shown themselves down here at this operation, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to having this business. And it is risky, but it's just not as risky as you might think, once you get it set up correctly and understand the traps. And it really does work well. And so that's what I would explain to them. From my point of view, it's pretty easy to explain it to them, how it can work and what it can do. And I can show lots of numbers and metrics. So
I had the opportunity to work a little bit on that side of things. And I will say that dealers are, some see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some are still a little bit more squeamish when it comes to, how does this all play out? But I think now, with the way things are, we have to look at every single opportunity. Every deal has to matter. We can't afford to lose one deal, one customer. We've got to figure out a way. Is there a different profit center that we have been ditching and sending down the street to someone else? And I cringe on that, because, what I do when I go into a store is I help dealers impact performance. That's what I do. I look for every which way to make a difference. Where are those profit leaks, so that we can stop it and put in a process plan in place to really help to sell more vehicles and to make sure that we're improving our total performance. And I have learned that it's every single deal. So even back in my day, a while ago. So I'm not like Gene. I like to lie.
I got you. Okay, so I'm the old guy. I'm old. Yeah, I'm old.
I'll let you be that one. I'm still trying. So when I was younger, I lied. I was older. Now that I'm older, I'm younger. You know how that works.
That's what I do. I got you. That's funny.
But in this Toyota store in Annapolis, Maryland, I was Wonder Woman. That's what. And what was funny is everyone and their mother said, "Becky, listen up. I hear you, but we don't have subprime customers in a Toyota dealership in Annapolis, Maryland." And of course, we found out completely different. And that was many years ago. Right. That's where we're at today. That's where we're at. We have to figure out how to put those deals together. Mike says digital marketing strategies, Google subprime search, and dealer website information. Does that work?
I don't know. I'm not a marketing. Are you more a marketing person than myself? But I think that if it's in your website, down in the key metric words, it's not just, great big letters, but it's down in there. It's still going to pull some of them out. Websites are much more efficient these days in helping you build leads, create leads from what the keywords and the metrics are within your website. So yeah, I would put it in there, and you will draw some business on Google search. Especially if you list all the towns and cities that you're around in your market and you list all that, it can definitely help. So,
it's about, understanding what you've got to work with. And, once you figure that out, all the other, I guess, comes together. So I know I'm taking Gene's time. So any last comments before we close it today?
For me, I would say I just always am going to be an advocate for buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here. And I want to help dealers that want to learn more about it and get involved in it, and I can help them do that. But it is definitely a part of everyday activity at the dealerships everywhere in this country. And so why not embrace it at some level, some way? Definitely don't expect your regular guys necessarily to do it. Create a program that you can handle some of that, and it's worthwhile to do it. And it's definitely less risky than you might think.
Well, I think that you got to we have to look at models. We have to understand our lenders. We have to understand, is there other ways to put these car deals together and not shy away from it. And I think when we do that, we'll see a lot more potential for the dealership. But again, I want to thank you, Gene, for again coming on with me, Becky Chernek, and I provide the very best when it comes to not only finance and insurance training in those franchise dealerships, but also from the time that customer lands on that dealership website, working with BDC, working with sales, presentation, desking, because that's the hub of all, right? That's where it all takes place.
And subprime.
Subprime, baby. Let's make sure we know our lenders. And then, of course, if you want to go into a deeper dive, that's where Gene comes in.
You want to build a portfolio. Don't let the bank build the portfolio. You build the portfolio.
You build the portfolio.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
So maybe that's our talk next week. We'll talk about how dealers can build their own portfolio and why that's okay.
That's right. It's cash flow and a big portfolio. Do both. That's right.
A lot of dealers do it with their reinsurance too. So I don't know if you can tap into that a little bit, and let's have a better understanding of how that works. That would be kind of fun.
Absolutely. It's always fun, Becky.
I always know the right people.
It's always a good time.
I don't know. You're fun, Gene. Thank you so much again, Gene, for coming on and doing this show with me. We're together on this, and it's fun. It's a great show. And thank you so much, Gene, for your time today.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I'll talk to y'all again next week. Y'all call Becky if you need some finance.
Thank you.
I just keep writing letters, trying to see what you do. song. Whoa. It's a sad